my name is Tatiana Mirko Popovitsky. It's a long name. It originates from former Yugoslavia, Serbia. But I've been in Canada for a quarter of a century and painting Canadian landscapes for most of that time. And I have an upcoming show at the Port Moody Art Centre. It will open on August 19th and will be on until September 15th. And the title is Coastal Spirit because I am featuring mostly my coastal landscape paintings and a few trails and hiking scenes as well. I am focused on painting Canadian landscapes, actually West Coast landscapes, for quite a long time, for 15 years about, but I work in series. And the collection that I'm working on right now for the past couple of years is called Coastal Sentinels. So it's all coastal something because I've been traveling around the coast and some more accessible places and some less accessible places, and I'm very much inspired by the coastline. So this entire series is in that vein. I chose acrylics quite a while ago. It's a very interesting medium. It's very versatile, so you can work in it, make it look like watercolor, or you can work in it, make it look like oil. Whatever you do, there's lots of experimentation that it allows, and it dries very quickly, which means that you can do a lot of works in parallel. And that really suits my personality. And also when I'm traveling, when I go on trips to different locations, I can finish several studies in a very short time, and they dry quickly and they're not messy, and it's a very practical, and it gives you a good challenge to it. It's a very interesting medium. My subject matter has developed over my time in Canada, and I've been using my art to kind of process my adjusting to this country, learning about this country, loving this country. It was my way into feeling that I belong here. So it kind of went through my journey. My art followed my journey. So I went to the Rockies in the beginning for several years, and at that time my work was focused on Canadian Rockies. I explored our local mountains in the North Shore, Whistler, and at that time I was painting a lot of those scenes. And then I started exploring the coast. Art is life, right? So it is a part of my life, and it's a very important part of my life. It helps me understand Canada, it helps me meet the people, it helps me see the landscape, and it's just part of the love of living here. To make art, to travel, to live in this fantastic place. I really, really appreciate it, and anyone who's been a part of this journey, I'm so grateful. And lots of people whom I know, artists, they struggle with this too. When you love something, how do you part with it, right? And also, if you want to get into the world, how do you get it into the world? So I've been working on this for quite a while. I've been working with several galleries over time, and also with public galleries like Port Moody Art Centre. They're all part of the same picture. I also have my website, so sometimes people just contact me directly. But it is a very important part for me because it is a connection. I can see the scenery, I can paint it, I can love it, but there's still one part that needs to be there in order for the whole circle to be done, and that's for people to connect with it and want to live with it and, just accept me and my art.
Hi, I'm Bob Wallace, President of Art Focus Artists Association. This is the outlet in the Lee Square Artist Village. We hold our workshops, business meetings, and artist demos here on Wednesday nights at 7 o'clock throughout our season. We also hold our fall art show and our spring art show in this facility. For more information, check our website, www.artfocusartistassociation.com.
folks, Jay Peachy here with Tri-Cities Community TV, and we have the pleasure of interviewing Pat Callahoo, Métis artist, who grew up in Maillardville and has now become a world-famous Métis woodcarver and artist. And so we're happy to be here in his studio here in Pitt Meadows, KT Traditional Territory. Thank you, Pat, for allowing us to be here. And yeah, in your own words, please introduce yourself.
Well, welcome to my shop. My name is Pat Callahoo, Métis artist. My ancestors were the voyageurs and the Métis leaders of their time, and I honor them by my carvings and boat building and Red River cart making.
So you grew up in Maillardville, and so what was that like growing up and discovering your ancestry?
We thought we were Cree growing up, and then we had people come into our school, like Fullerton came into our school with Maurice Nahani, and they, told us to research more of our heritage and stuff, and I found out that we were Métis, and then found out later, I got family books and found out all the different stuff that we did, like working for the Hudson Bay Company and the Northwest Company. And my grandma's dad started the Alberta Indian Association and the Métis Betterment Act. So I grew up not knowing that stuff. So when I found out later in life, it was awesome because it was like a missing connection for me.
So Métis Nation BC has provided a, reconciliation guide, and your family's in that. Could you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it's kind of cool. So the Métis Nation put out this education for reconciliation, and they included 5 generations of my family in here. So it was kind of nice to go from having all these and different books and family photos, and I can kind of open it up and you can see 5 generations of us here. This is my great-great-great-grandfather, Louis Callahoo. So he worked for the Northwest Company, and then this is my great-great-grandfather. He worked for the Hudson Bay Company. And my great-grandfather worked for the Hudson Bay Company as well.
So one of your world-famous projects is this York boat that's in the Fort Langley. It's Kwantlen territory. Talk a bit about that and the meaning of that for you in that project.
Yeah, so me and my best friend, Sean Anton, we built a full-size replica fur trading boat. So the same boat my great-great-grandfather Michelle would have paddled for the Hudson Bay Company. So it's like real deal, full size. We used blacksmith nails, and we tried to keep it as traditional as we could. And we used a plan from the Hudson Bay Company to do it.
So behind you, you've got a Red River cart. Can you explain to our viewers a little bit more about that?
So this is a small version of a Red River cart. The large ones are much bigger, so they have a 5 or 6 foot wheel, and it's made all out of wood, so there's no metal or anything. It's just wooden nails and sinew, and I would have wrapped hide around the whole wheel to protect all of this stuff so rocks wouldn't get in there and break it all apart. So if I had a problem with my wheel, if it broke or anything, I just need a piece of tree and some of my hand tools, and I could make another piece or a spoke or make a wooden nail. And I'd always have lots of sinew and rawhide around and hide because we're fur trading and hunting.
Well, thanks again for allowing us in your shop here. It was a pleasure chatting with you. Hope to chat with you again.
was essentially started off as an interior, and the whole idea was the lamp and the rays from the lamp would cover other items of different colors. The rays would merge with the color it was carrying over. Whether it was successful remains with the observer. This was essentially one aspect. The word in itself, safari, conjures up images of white hunters, usually looked after by black tribesmen who make sure that they're comfortable and that they are conducted to places where they can shoot animals. It occurred to me that this was a little bit off kilter, if you like, and I decided to look at it as, what about a black safari with no white hunters? And that was the essential part of my thinking. The images on there are essentially derived from, they're not actually African ones, but they are derived from similar African pieces of art that I came across, mainly from the west coast of Africa. The idea came from the northern part of Natal, I believe it was. I went up there for some time, spent some time there, and it was Zulu territory. And I was able to observe the Zulus in their natural habitat. One of the essential things about the Zulu women is they never covered their breasts. That's why this particular one is indicative of that particular fact. It essentially is tended to be a young girl bringing the water back for her family. It was on exhibition in Maple Ridge, and in the book that encouraged viewers to put their comments were two elderly ladies from Saskatchewan who wrote, this artist seems to be obsessed with women's breasts. And had they come and asked me why, I could have explained the reason. Many, many years ago, I read a book by Maupassant, who wrote a book about bees, and it had an effect on me, and I thought of the wonderful things that bees can get up to. The regular polygon part of the structures, that's the six-sided figure, six-sided polygon, and that's the way they built their honeycombs. Yeah. And if you look at the painting, it's got a matronly figure, put it that way, representing the queen with the sting in the tail, some, I think there's an egg somewhere, if I'm going on memory now. It's part and parcel of a queen bee. I think also there is something in the effect of a crown and some movement around the head. Yeah. Trick cyclist. During World War II, there very often was the need to create emergency landing strips in very, very rugged country, bush country perhaps, or treed countries. These landing strips were looked after by people who spent long periods of time in these remote places. It got to them in certain ways. Mentally, it got to them. There was a very nasty incident there that gave rise to publicity, which exposed the fact that these people had been there too long in this remote place, and they sent a psychiatrist there to examine these people. They never called him a psychiatrist, they called him a trick cyclist. And that's what I painted, a trick cyclist. Okay. Genie in the Bottle. Right, that's based on Tales from the Arabian Nights. The sea brought in a bottle and deposited the bottle on the beach. And the man on the beach uncorked the bottle, and out came a genie, a Genie. I call that Genie in the Bottle, but I used a Jeanie. A couple of people told me that that had something of an African look about it. I don't know, perhaps it did. Orca was an interesting one. The original was done from oak, American red oak, and I like the look of it. Unfortunately, the bronze cast-in turned out to be rather expensive, so I stopped at one. It has the fin, I think it's the dorsal fin, the back, and inside the dorsal fin is a little globe, which indicates that the creature itself has the world to roam. Archer was one of the names given to that. I called it Amazon, and somebody else called it Spear Thrower, and also Archer. So we had three names. It represents an Amazon, a warrior woman. It is intended to be dynamic. I made the original from stack laminated maple. They only had 2 casts. That's based on a wall painting of the Mesolithic period in a Spanish cave. Mesolithic simply means Middle Stone Age. And I like the look of it, and I took the idea of the wall painting, which is obviously 2-dimensional, and I made it into a 3-dimensional figure. It became a hobby of mine, and I found it a good relaxer from my normal job, like engineering. Although engineering also, I'm quite fond of. It's very demanding, and it's a challenge, and so is art.
On July 3rd, the Tri-Cities lost a long-time arts, cultural, and environmental advocate in the passing of Roger Loubert, who is not only a founder of Tri-Cities Community TV and former president of ArtsConnect, but also very involved in the preservation of the Riverview lands, Minnecatta Park, and Miarville. The rest of the show is dedicated to Monsieur Loubert.
We've identified cultural artifacts, such as the train station itself, which became one of the first heritage buildings in Coquitlam. We've also found some key elements that explain the way the beginnings of Miarville from the District Lot 46, Plan 2624, a plan that was put into the Land Registry Office, registered in the Land Registry Office in 1913, which showed that the largest mill of the British Empire had a plan for a settlement, had a plan for workers into the largest mill of the British Empire.
Justement que Joanne a conçu, moi comme raconteur qui cherchais, so as a storyteller, what I'm looking for and what I was looking for is a context to look at pre-building of a village. What do you do before you build a house? because the largest mill of the British Empire had put into the land registry an idea of a village. And so as you come out here in the pioneering sense, you're into a forest. You're basically looking, as suggests through the window here, and you're seeing what you come to, the largest mill of the British Empire. But your real challenge like today is, there's a forest there waiting. There was one before. And how do you tie in, for us, the challenge was, how do you tie in the past, the present, and the future of what nature is doing right now?
We often speak of those that can't see the forest for the trees. We know of those that can't see the trees for the forest. But I've added a very important other element, and it's even those that see forest and trees, rarely do they see the roots, without which neither forest or trees could exist.
ArtsConnect, from a regional perspective, said, well, we had strategic workshops and we came up with 4 key words. And that's the way we see Riverview to this day. So we see it as a regional, iconic, cultural landmark.
Chief Ed Hull, he wanted to share a few words out of respect for Roger. He's had a lot on his plate, and so he couldn't be here this evening, but he wanted to say, to all who knew Roger, it is with great pleasure and an honor to share a few words on behalf of Coquitlam First Nations. We wish to send along our condolences to all his loved ones and who he acquainted with. Roger was a very charismatic and friendly person who was passionate about the arts. Also, he was very intrigued and interested in learning about First Nation peoples and their territory, especially those whom are on Coquitlam First Nations land. We wish everyone a very enjoyable event and to be safe, kind, and take very, very well care of yourselves.
The easel in the photo display was a very iconic symbol for him, for Art in the Park at Minnetonka. That was pre-me, but I know, and it's just close to my heart to see that was a symbol of his, because it was that intersection of the arts and nature, and bringing people together to connect and that type of thing.
I used to tell Roger, like the song for the Beatles song, The Fool on the Hill. I said, Roger, you're like the fool on the hill. You're up there and people are looking up and going, look at that fool. What is he doing there? And I said, and you're looking down going, who are these fools? What are they doing there? So there was always this sense of no comprehension in between. But then once you got to know Roger, you understood a lot of things.
River of life, still flowing strong. We're all passengers, just floating along. Voyager, now it's time to rest. The journey's over and you gave it your best. Mino River put you to the test. Put down your paddle, it's time to rest. One more time. Hey. your song, my friend.